Hello there, and welcome to another exciting episode of Knife Chats. Kind of caught me off guard there. Hi, everybody. Thought I'd join in on an open tag that's going around. It's about 3 knives that you would take out into the wilderness. I believe this is a open tag that was began by Boston Blades. I have watched almost a dozen of the different responses to it, including the original, and I have found it quite fascinating. There's a couple comments that I have left on a couple of the reviews as well. I think one of the first comments I left was when I read the title, and it's like 3 knives that you would take out into the wilderness. And the 3 knives are, you need a fixed blade, a modern folder, and then a traditional knife that you would take out into the wilderness. And one of my first comments was, you mean 3 knives on top of my everyday carry knives, right? And another comment I had left was that if the traditional knife can't be a Swiss Army knife, I'm not going out in the woods. It's just that simple. And there's reasons behind both of those comments. And the first one, I mean, when I said, you mean on top of my everyday carry knives, right? Because I'm not going to give up my everyday carry knives simply because I'm going out into the woods. These are knives I carry every day because I find them useful, I find them knives that I need, and also knives that I carry in case I get in some kind of an emergency situation. So what better place could you get into trouble than if you're out in the wilderness? So those knives are with me for a reason. And so, just because I'm going out in the wilderness doesn't mean I'm going to say, oh, I don't need to take my Explorer with me. I'm going to carry that with me. I carry the toothpick because I just like to carry a toothpick. I'm going to have that with me. The Dragonfly, I carry it every day. I carry it with me all the time. I like it. It's handy. And, I lose it in the pocket very easily. So that could actually end up being the everyday or the modern folder that I carry in the woods all the time too. And everyone was talking about, well, if you drop something and it's going to be hard to find, well, that's why I have the Midnight Manager with me, as well as a P38. If you were to tell me, well, everything's taken care of, you don't need a can opener, it's like, well, that's all right, I still have my P38 because I'm going to keep it. And this has a light on it so I can shine on the ground. I get it. Flashlights will be provided, but I'm also going to still have these with me because I have them with me just in case. So even if I was going in the wilderness, I'm going to have that. And as you notice, one of those was a Swiss Army knife because, well, I carry a Swiss Army knife with me everywhere I go. So just because I'm going in the wilderness, that doesn't change. Okay, back to the actual open tag from Boston Blades. It's what 3 knives are you going to take in the wilderness for a 7-day trip in the wilderness? And a traditional knife, a modern folder, and a fixed blade. Well, having had similar experiences, I can tell you what knives I actually took into the wilderness for a little more than 7 days. Those knives would have been this one here, a Camillus combat knife, the 7-inch blade, 5-inch handle, 12 inches overall, push tang running all the way through the stack leather handle. Everything about this knife is wrong according to some of the people who have responded because, well, it doesn't have that full tang that they're looking for, and they need the strength of a full tang. I managed to chop down trees with this. I managed to baton with this. Did everything that the modern bushcraft knife would do, so I'm not sure why this knife wouldn't work for that, but I know what it can do. 1095 carbon steel, and that's another thing. A lot of people are looking at very high-end steels, super steels that are not going to dull easy or anything like that. I found 1095 holds an edge fairly well and is easy to sharpen when it starts to get dull. And I thought, to me, that's probably more important than a knife that is not going to get dull, or that, you know, that blade is going to chip or something, and then you've got to chip in the blade and you got to work it out. If you're out in the wilderness for 7 days and you don't have your knife sharpening system with you and everything, it's going to be a whole lot harder than me just grabbing a stone out of the creek and working it out with a stone. So I like 1095 for that reason. So this is the fixed blade I carried, and then the pocket knife I carried was this one right here, the milk knife. I mean, well, I was in the Army, and that was one of the other reasons I had these knives with me, is because, you know, they thought that maybe I might end up going into combat or something someday. These wouldn't be a bad idea to have. And, you know, this worked out fairly well, you know, decent enough blade on it. This knife was used a whole lot more than this one was, you know, for all sorts of little chores. And the important thing for me on this is has a really nice punch, so you can actually drill in holes and stuff like that. And then, well, we already know the other thing. So, you know, the screwdriver, I've mentioned that a lot, and recently, the fact that this saves your blade from getting chipped or broken. So, can opener also is great for scribing and all sorts of other stuff, plus opening the can. So if you're eating or something and you need a can opener, you got one. And like I said, I still had a P38 with me, so this is really the backup one. And I ended up trading this one because I had the opportunity to trade for this, which was the German Army knife, and I ended up using the German Army knife in place of that, and I probably would do that again today, simply because of the wood saw on there and a longer blade, and you still got the punch here. Punch is not as good as the one that was on the milk knife, but it's not bad either, and it's longer. I just don't like where it is listed, where it is located. You can definitely drill with it, and I get it, you know, corkscrew, but it does work for knots and stuff, so it isn't that bad. And this is a little lighter than the milk knife, so I like this one. And these would be the two knives that I would have. Obviously, these were the two knives I used. I didn't even need a modern folder, and at the time, I don't even think modern folders really existed. So if I were to try and supplement that with a modern folder, I think either one of these would be just fine. And this is the Ontario Rat 2. It's a nice little modern folder, so you do have that blade opening up by itself, you know, Os-8 steel. I know it's not anything super or anything, but works all right. You can open and close it easy enough. Or this one here, the Gerber Easy Out. I think this is almost would have been around when I was using the other knives. At least it's one of the older ones, and I kind of like this one because it actually does have the half serrated blade. Everything else I have is a fine blade, so wouldn't be a bad idea to have something that had a serrated blade. And you know, you can get this to open and close one-handed, which is a good thing. So with the exception of the modern folder, those were the knives I actually carried when I was out in the woods, more or less. But circumstances were different then, and I guess that's one of the things that is a driving force with the open tag. Is part of it is what is in the individual's mind when they hear, I'm going into wilderness for 7 days, what knives am I going to carry? And everyone has a different picture of what that is. And for me, there's two scenarios that come to mind. I mean, I'm not even talking about, are you in the jungle, are you in the forest, are you in a swamp, are you in the mountains, are you on the flatlands? You know, it goes beyond that. It goes to, are you going to be in one location or general location like camping, or are you going to decide to go hiking, as in you're going to be like doing something like hiking along the Appalachian Trail for a week? Because to me, that is what's going to drive the knife choices that I would make if I'm moving or if I'm stationary. Because if I'm stationary, then I might be more willing to deal with a little bit of weight. But if I'm moving more or less, continuously moving, new campsite every day and everything else, um, things become a little more problematic and your needs change. So I'm going to look at both of those scenarios and kind of come up with it. And you're going to see that for the most part, the only knife that's really going to change is probably my fixed blade. Now keep in mind that I'm still going to have my regular everyday carry knives with me. I'm not going to give them up just because suddenly I'm going into the woods or something like that, simply because that just doesn't make sense to me. These are knives that I feel I need every day. So now we're going into a new circumstance where I might need something additional. You know what I mean? It's like in the Army, you have your basic combat load that you're going to have, and then when you go on a mission, you grab certain things that are mission specific that you also have to carry on top of that. And that's the way I would be approaching this if I'm going into the wilderness. And so the traditional knife that I think I would add to what I already carry is this one here, the Hunter, the Victorinox Hunter. This is the 111 millimeter pattern by Victorinox. It has a longer blade that locks. They now have one, I think, that has a one-hand opening blade. This one has the slide lock. I like the slide lock. It's a little lighter. And then it also has a nice long saw, a wood saw. I'm going to need that wood saw because my Explorer does not have a wood saw. So that's why I'm grabbing this one. I wanted that wood saw. Now I could have gone with the Trekker, which is very similar to this, but instead of the can opener and the cap lifter screwdriver blades on the Trekker, this one has the combo tool. So I can use this for a can opener or a cap lifter, like I'm going to need either of those. You never know, you might. But it also has this little blade over here, which is a little serrated gut hook blade, if you can see there. See that? And that's why I would take this one instead, because this is good for cutting lines and all sorts of other stuff. And if I need something cut, then I have this one. I got a nice little serrated blade on here. Does have the corkscrew, so I have another place to put a backup little screwdriver on there. So I'm very happy with that. And it's got a toothpick and a tweezer, which I find will come in handy as well. So I'd probably grab that as my knife in the wilderness, the Victorinox Hunter. Not a huntsman, it's a hunter. As for my modern folder, my first thought was about the only one that would be worthwhile for me to carry would be right here, the Okay, I need to interrupt myself for just a second here. I just said this is probably the only worthwhile modern folder to take. Well, I'm referring to within my collection, the Spyderco Para 3 is probably the best modern folder to take. I've actually been watching the other videos and admiring the numerous modern folders that people are pulling out and some very high-end ones and everything else, and I'm really fascinated by it. But that's not my wheelhouse. I do not collect modern folders. I do not own a lot of modern folders. The Para 3 is my most expensive modern folder, and it is the only modern folder I have that has anything close to a super steel in it, in the SPY 27 Spyderco steel. So that's why I'm talking about this knife a little bit. Are there better modern folders to take on a 7-day trip? Absolutely.
they're just not in my collection. So let's keep that in mind before you leave a note in the comment section. I am not making a suggestion to anybody saying this is the knife you need to bring. I'm telling you knives in my collection that I would use for this open tag.
The Para 3, which isn't a bad choice. I mean, it's a really nice knife and everything. Very drop shutty. It has the compression lock on the back. This is in Spy 27, which is a decent enough steel. Um, and, you know, it is definitely one hand opening. You can flick it open and all that other cool stuff. It's drop shutty and flip it open with just holding the compression lock down. So, very much a one handed operation going on with it. But I'm not sure how much this really offers over the Dragonfly 2. I actually was carrying this one for a while and went back to the Dragonfly 2 because I just like the way it rode in my pocket a whole lot better. And I also like the, I don't like the way this one is rounded at the top. I like the top of the Dragonfly better. See how this has that definite end there and this kind of rolls? I like the way this is instead. Obviously, this has a bigger blade. That's really the only advantage that it had, as far as I'm concerned, to the Dragonfly 2. So I'm not going to take the Para 3, but it does leave me thinking, what other modern folder should I grab? And what I ended up going with is this, the Myerton Sailor's Tool. And the reason I chose it is once again because it has that serrated blade, and I don't have anything with a serrated blade. So I wanted the serrated blade, 440 C stainless steel in this knife, so not a bad steel. It is a liner lock, one hand opening. You can also get that spike open with one hand. And I know what you're thinking, why spike? Well, it's good for digging into stuff with. You know, you got a claw there that you can actually dig into stuff with, dig up the ground, dig into rotting wood and stuff like that. And it also would come in handy if I need to untie a knot, which might happen, especially in either circumstance. If even if I'm in a stationary place, you know, and I have a tent pitched, I might need to untie a knot in the tent. And if I'm backpacking, same thing might happen. I might need to untie some knots. You're going to be tying stuff up, so it wouldn't hurt to have that spike with me. And this also provides a pair of pliers, not the best pliers in the world, but you never know when you might need a pair of pliers. So that's probably the modern folder that I would take with me. I know it's really a nautical tool, but it's a modern design, and it would do for me. So that would be my modern folder that I would take with me on that 7-day trip. So that brings us to the fixed blade, and this is where things kind of diverge a little bit. Which would I have if I'm just stationary versus if I'm hiking, you know, going a distance? Well, now I could just go back to the Camillus combat knife. I mean, I know it's going to do the job. It's done it before, so why not just go and grab that again? Probably because it's bigger and heavier than I need. This is the knife I've most recently been using, and this is, I think this is the Buck Clearwater bait knife, 021, yeah, right here. Nice little knife, 420 high carbon steel. If you notice up here on the top, you've got that serrated edge for cutting through fish bone and stuff like this. And this is a really nice knife for camping and stuff. So this is what I have been using for quite some time now when I've been out in the woods, or even just on a trip or something, you know, if I go fishing or anything like that. This is a knife I like to take with me because it works. It does what I need it to do. Now, the blade is a little skinny, so I know a lot of people wouldn't say, nah, don't go with that or anything like that. And you got the hollow grind going on. You can definitely see that it's been through the paces, but it is a full tang knife going all the way through the nice handle. Handle feels pretty good, but it also, you know, when you're cutting this way, it doesn't feel that great. So I don't know. That's the one I most often will grab. That's the one I've been using. It's very functional, does what it needs to do. However, one knife that I have been wanting to take out is this one here, and this is the SEJG5, and this is probably something people would be more interested in seeing, and I really do want to try it. It's an ideal size, really, when you get right down to it. It's about a 5-inch blade, about a 5-inch handle, very comfortable to hold. Got your lanyard hole in the back there. 1095 carbon steel. Again, the steel that I would prefer, I'd prefer that over Buck's 420 HC even. It's got the 90-degree spine going on there, so that's something that a lot of people scream about. So I'd be able to throw some sparks if I needed to. Full flat grind, and it's a nice little knife, good quality, and full tang, the other thing that people always scream about. And this is a knife that I've been dying to take out into the woods. So this is probably the knife, if someone were to say, hey, let's go hiking or let's go camping or something like that, there is a very good chance this is the knife I would be grabbing. Whether it be for 2 or 3 days, for a week or a month, I would want to take this one with me and put it through its paces and try it out. Now, if it was an SHTF kind of situation, I don't know if this is the knife I'd be grabbing, but just to go out into the woods for a week, yeah, this is the knife I'd probably grab next time, because that's what I've been waiting to do, is grab this knife and take it out in the woods for a while. If I were hiking for a long time and weight was more of a concern, I'd probably go with this one, the Essie Azula. I like this knife. I carry it quite often already when I just go out for like a day hike or something. So that's probably the one I'd grab. And there's nothing wrong with this one either. I mean, yeah, the blade is a little small. I know a lot of people would like something with at least a 4 or 5 inch blade, but this is going to get most of the jobs done. It's like, especially when you consider all you're really doing is hiking, you have all your stuff together and everything else, so weight is more of an issue than anything else. I know that like a lot of people who will walk like the Appalachian Trail, they find the lightest possible knife they can ever find and just carry that, and it's just one knife and that's all they will carry. So I think sometimes we make too big of a deal about what knives we need and everything, but this would probably be what I would grab, and I would, neck carry it so that I'd have it in case everything else got lost. So that's probably the knife I would carry for my fixed blade. Again, full flat grind, 1095 carbon steel, going to be easy to sharpen, and feels comfortable enough in the hand. You're not going to be doing everything in the world with it. I don't plan on like chopping down the forest and building a lean-to or anything like that. Matter of fact, one of the things that he mentioned is certain other things would already be taken care of. So if most of my other needs are taken care of, this might be the only knife I would need, but I don't mind having the other knives with me as well. So that's my response to this. I know I kind of went a little off base. I always do with these kind of things, and it's mainly because I think too hard about them. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed that, and if nothing else, you got to see a bunch of knives. Talk to you again soon. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pies. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.